Hi guys, I'm Shmi and you join me today surrounded by some fairly spectacular scenery, albeit a little bit windy, so please excuse me for that. But we're going to be taking a look at one very exciting new supercar, and that is this, the Mercedes-AMG GT C Roadster. As Mercedes put it, a breath of fresh air, now with the open top, the convertible format version of the AMG GT. Now you can have the AMG GT, the regular car, or the GTC, which is the sort of top level version, and that is this car that we're going to be taking a look at today in the glorious solar beam paintwork. So before we get started, have a full look around the car and take it for a drive. Let's check it out, the new AMG GT C Roadster. Let's get started with a walk around so I can run over the details, the headline facts and figures, and explain how the new GTC fits into the growing AMG GT family. And let's actually start with that last one, because this is the top spec version of the new Roadster. Roadster is launched as the GT and the GTC. Sandwiched between them, you have the GTS, and you also have the top flagship version in coupe only, the GT R. That's the track special, the rear-wheel drive beast record holder at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, 7 minutes and 11 seconds. They're all based around the same 4-litre twin-turbocharged V8. In this, guys, it has 557 horsepower, 680 Newton-meters, so a tiny bit behind the 585 horsepower of the GTR, but not a huge amount. Visually, it carries over quite a few of the components we saw launched on the GTR. For example, at the front, you have the Panamericana front grille, you have some active aerodynamics, you have these larger intakes around the side to allow air through the radiators. This car's equipped with the solar beam paintwork, which is glorious triple layer yellow, carbon ceramic brakes, generally very high specification all around. Coming round to the rear, another GTR inspired technology, active rear wheel steering. So at high speeds, the rear wheels turn a couple of degrees in the same direction as the front wheels to give you additional stability, and at low speed they turn in opposite directions to give you better turn-in, tighter cornering radius, and more grip and ability to feel like you're literally on rails. But while we're around at the back here, let's come straight in and look at the roof, given this is the launch of the Roadster version of this car. So the roof can open and close in 11 seconds flat. That is pretty quick. It's a triple layer, 3-piece roof, so the way it closes up, kind of a Z shape, means that it can just open up and fold back onto the rear deck here, sitting there, giving it quite a high rear hump that I'll get to when I'm driving the car later on. From a visibility point of view, but does mean it opens and closes very quickly and efficiently. Around the back, you've got not the same layout as the GTR, I should emphasise, with the twin exhaust, well, single on each side exhaust tailpipes, and up here on the rear boot lid, you've got the spoiler as well that raises and lowers at speed. Coming around a little bit more, new C designation with the GTC badge as well on the side. So it's a very quick car, there's no question about that. It comes on more regular road tyres, Continental Conti Sport 6 rather than the Michelin Sport Cup 2s of the GTR. But like I said earlier, it's only about 28 horsepower behind, so not a huge difference. Let's have a look at the interior quickly before we jump in and go for a drive. This car's equipped with the AMG Performance seats, so you get a lot of support, although I found when I drove the GTR that the buckets were a little bit more comfortable. Again, talk about that while we're driving. All the carbon and all the luxurious interior finish that you expect. So it's got pretty windy here, so I'm going to get started with my drive. First, I might just put up the roof just so you can see how that process works. We'll fire up the car. V8 comes to life. So it's got the active exhaust system, the AMG Performance exhaust, which you can control manually via this toggle right here, or it controls with the drive selector. The GTC having the race mode, where the non-C version of the car only has individual comfort, sport and sport plus. You'll hear that change, the valve opening and the revs being held a little bit higher ready for race start, which, by the way, to launch the car, you literally just have it in the right mode, set, ready to go, foot on the brake, accelerator, and go. No like modes you have to play with or things you have to play around with at all. So that all works pretty well. Right, so the roof control is up here in the headliner. You literally just do it like that. It starts, you can see the flaps folding at the end, and then the roof panel closes over your head. Nice and easily. That's it. And the roof is up. And you get a little graphic to show you that on the dash. Now I'm going to close the door. Oh, that's less windy. It's been pretty windy here, but as you can see, as a location, this is fairly amazing. We've got the Burmester stereo system, 11 speaker, and generally the sort of nice finish that we know from the GTR and the GTSs that I've driven recently. So let's get started, head for a little drive, and see what the GTC is like on the road. Now, I've been lucky enough to be driving this car all day so far. Needless to say, I've been having an awful lot of fun. But let's get started driving it in comfort mode. We'll go through the ropes, talk a little bit about what the car is like to get driving. So into drive with the gear selector, the 7-speed AMG speed shift gearbox, pulls away through the handbrake automatically, and driving it gently is, I think, what's quite nice, and I'll get to again in a moment. It's more compliant perhaps than the outgoing, or not even the outgoing, the GTS, the previous model with the new suspension setup. So getting moving, it wafts along, seamless shift changes as you'd expect, and this road isn't exactly the smoothest in the world either, but it's without problem. It's comfortable and gentle, and off you go. Obviously in here you're loaded with comforts and lane guidance or vibration of the steering wheel when you start touching the lines, an amazing sound system, adaptive cruise control for the sort of radar distance of the car in front of you, and you just sort of get moving in quite a nice way. The steering is very light, it has variable electromechanical steering, which means when you're driving sort of at slow speeds it's much lighter. When you're on it or you dial up the mode, it sort of tightens up and the ratios change. Thinking about ratios, the gearbox ratios, it now has a shorter first gear, which basically means acceleration off the line quicker, and a longer final drive that goes with that. But like this, there's not that much drama. It's quite civilized and gentle and all round sort of, I don't know what the right word for it is, but relaxed, shall we say. When you, however, dial it up a little bit, so let's go into sport mode, which is not the craziest mode at all. That just makes things a little bit tighter. Sport Plus, as you heard, drops the gear and makes it all start getting a little bit louder. Race mode would lower traction and go up even further. But you also have a separate traction button where you can put the ESP into sport handling mode, which I've found is sort of you quite want, so it doesn't throttle traction on you, because the AMG GTs have always had, when you floor it, if it lights up traction, you have to lift completely off before you can go back on, which, if you're pushing hard, can be frustrating, but obviously that's a safety thing. That means that you're less likely to do something stupid. And then you also have manual over that side too, and that's where you get those crackles. There's one thing I'm doing wrong with this though, I've just realised. I should probably be putting the roof down. So yes, let's do that. And I always press it the wrong way. That way, there we go. So you can do that while driving. Down goes the roof, excuse the wind if you caught some of that. Going at about 25 miles per hour, roof away, keep holding it, and the windows come up too. Nice and easy, and then you've got a little wind deflector as well behind you, that fixed glass piece, obviously helping it feel a little bit, while open to the elements, not too windy and blowy. Now, it is a little bit more blowy than I guess I might have expected. I've not driven the SLS Roadster to compare, but this is where you get this, which is heavenly. Listen to it. It's not quite as extreme as the GTR. Ooh, that crack! But it's not half bad. It's not bad at all. Just all day. And then you put your foot down, and there's a lot of go. So, yeah, that's like, it's amazing. That's what I love about the GTR. Yeah, it might be slightly artificial, but it's going to have you smiling for days when you're driving it, just because you could drop a gear and get some burbles and cracks going off behind you. So, driving, let's talk about this, the compliancy of the suspension, and that is one of the most interesting things, because genuinely it feels like a smoother drive than the GTS. And I drove a GTS literally a few weeks ago. If you go over bumps, and I went over a cattle grid earlier, I don't know if you noticed, but it's nowhere nearly as bumpy and rough as it perhaps could be. Turning in as a result, well, I suppose result is not the right word, but connected, feels brilliant, and that's obviously helped by the rear wheel steer. So driving along like this, it turns on a dime. It just feels like it can go around a corner out of nowhere, and when you're driving aggressively and sportily, it does just the same, which is a great feeling. Let me be a little bit honest about something I don't like, and that's the seats. And I talked about this when I drove the GTR before, and I massively preferred the bucket seat in the GTR and found these performance seats just a little bit hard in the lower back, and I feel the same in this car today as I did before. But like that, it drives away pretty smoothly and gently as well. So the seats is a little niggle. The same thing I mentioned before as well with the elbow. You find your elbow presses the button, so you put the suspension into firm with your elbow by mistake if you're left-hand drive, or you do the exhaust by mistake if you're right-hand drive, which I guess is a little bit of a funny and odd, quirky side effect. And generally the centre console is quite large and cumbersome, so to speak. Hasn't stopped me obviously ordering the GTR, but it is a point. I find the lane guidance to be very intrusive. Now obviously you can switch it off, but it just seems to come up and vibrate the steering wheel all the time via all sorts of random things going on. But generally speaking, the car drives so well. It's such an all-round package and car. It does partly have me thinking, should I be doing GTC, not GTR? But then against that, I've got enough convertibles, and the R is a little bit more of a driver's car, obviously a little bit more power, a little bit more boisterous, and a couple of sort of functions and things that this car doesn't have. Oh, that crack! Just do it all the time. It's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. Oh boy. It's first gear, of course. So, what else can I tell you about the inside of the GTC? Well, if you've been in a GT or a GTS, it's all pretty similar. The way the entertainment system works is all the same. You've got a lot of storage. You've got some sort of some springy door pockets, 2 large cup holders. You've got a big armrest storage as well for your media, glove box. I guess everything you kind of expect to have. The boot is a little bit small, I think. Not sure of the exact number, but you might fit some soft bags in there, but it's not going to be a full sort of boot ready for a long trip. I keep getting distracted, don't I? It is quite addictive, but just going around corners like this now, it turns in, and it feels like such a fun and playful car as well, and just kind of, in a way, I want to perhaps let it slip around a little bit. It's that kind of character, it's that kind of charm. And oh look, here comes one towards us. Awesome. Yeah, so my experience of the car then so far, I mean, we've been brought to the launch on roads rather than racetrack, because that is the character of the car. You know, the GTR is the race car, the GTC is the Grand Tourer road car, and I think for me the GTR is going to be a car I want to drive on track and enjoy out there, but the GTC is a mighty good machine. It just seems to do everything I've thrown at it today, and I've been driving it, like I said, for quite a few hours. There we go, I barely touched the line. I don't even know if I did touch the line, but the steering wheel vibrated at me. Anyway, adaptive cruise control works really well. I like the Mercedes system on that an awful lot. I have done in the past when I've driven other cars. And the general feel of driving open-topped, that's where it's at. Driving a Roadster is an awesome, fun experience, and the Roadster, obviously, the 2-seat format, just in this platform works brilliantly, and no doubt this is going to be a big success if my little experience of it now is anything to go by. So let's turn it back into comfort for the minute. You can go to individual the other way, where you can configure and adapt how you have your settings. So how you have the engine, the suspension, oh, I lost what was on the screen, the gearbox, the exhaust, and ESP mode. So you can set that up all how you want it, however you want the car to be, and it will remember that setting. So when you get back into the car, it will drive in the same mode you turned it off, and that's something I really like as well about it. Now if I put the roof back up, go back undercover for a moment, again, while we're driving. It's very neat, isn't it, how you can do this? It does get a little bit breezy when it goes up though. There we go, closed up. That is very quick. One thing is the sight lines. So the B pillar is really quite hard to see through. Oh, where am I going? Let's probably not go this way. I think I've actually just gone the wrong way. Anyway, the B pillar is quite hard and you've got a massive blind spot back there, and equally that rear hump means that it's quite hard to see much behind you. However, this is a good test of turning circle. Check this out. Literally, in the middle of the road, we just turned around, which for a car like this is fairly, well, impressive, shall we say. I'm very blown away by its turning circle. I don't know the sort of exact numbers or ability to stop-start, of course, as I come to a stop at the stop sign. But I was saying about the visibility, mirrors are good, rear view mirror as good as it can be. It's just, you can't see the road right behind you, and you can't see in your blind spots very well, so you have to watch out for those and be very careful, of course. But overall, I mean, these are little things. This car is a very, very good package. It's been brilliantly made, and I'm going to continue on my drive, almost certainly enjoying this with a big smile on my face a lot. He says, as he's again lost, we're going this way. Not doing very well today, but you have to excuse me. Anyway, looks like I've got a bit of sunshine in front of me. Let's cruise and head on. One of the things about the seating position is because there is such a long bonnet to fit in the engine, you're sat really far back. You feel like you're almost on the rear wheels, but that gives you really quite a nice driving sensation. You feel like you've got the grip kind of under you and a lot of space to play with. Which is kind of fun, although in this kind of environment in town, obviously I don't know where the front of the car is. It's somewhere up there beyond those kind of nice strakes, I guess you could call them, in front of the vents that lead down towards the front edge, where you've got that large grille. But the view where I am right now, where I'm driving, I'm not sure how much you can see on the camera, but it's really quite cool, shall we say. I'm just looking around at the mountains around me. Not a bad setting to be driving a car like this, really. Please accept my apologies for quite how windy it is today, but I've parked up now because there are a couple more things on this car that I'd like to show you as we walk around it. So first, let's come straight in to the front and talk about the active aerodynamics, and specifically in here, the air panel. So if I go right in on that, you can see the electronically controlled flaps that will open variable amounts. It takes about a second to open them, depending how much cooling the car requires to come in through. Another thing, just while we can see it, the paintwork, I touched on it earlier, the solar beam pearlescent yellow, triple coat, just looks amazing. It is a wonderful colour, so much depth to it that I think even the camera doesn't quite see all of. Under dim light like now, it's a little bit golden, but it goes bright yellow under the bright sunshine too. Now, if we come to the interior, a new thing on here is to have the air scarf on the AMG Performance seat, so the ability to have warm air blowing out behind your neck, which is quite nice if you were driving on a colder day than today. But obviously you can see as I look around me here, the scenery is moderately crazy and quite wonderful. Now, another thing about the GTC is that as standard, it has an electronically controlled limited slip diff on the rear axle. The regular GT, not the C, has a mechanical limited slip diff, but that is also standard on the car too. It obviously helps the driving experience and pleasure while you're on the road in the car. Now let's come around and pop open the hood and check out the engine. I say hood because obviously where I am right now that makes a little bit more sense. If we come around here, down here somewhere, oh, there we go, unlatch that. Let's come around and check out what is powering the beast here. So lift it up, there we go. The AMG engine unit from a Fulterback, handcrafted with the engine builder's name or signature on the plaque there in the centre. Always quite nice. Actually really cool seeing all the yellow throughout the car. Everywhere you can see all the different components, with obviously most of it hidden away down at the bottom. So let me drop that down. The one last thing to show you then, if we come round to the rear of the car, open up the boot, which you do so by pressing and holding on the button. Then you can lift it open. You can see the space back there that I talked about earlier. Enough space for a couple of soft bags, maybe even the kind of suitcase you can carry onto a plane, or possibly even two of them. Just enough for a little road trip, no doubt, but not sort of huge amounts of space. And you can close that back up and thud it down. Quite like how you've got these sort of airflow bits that you can see where there's even warm air coming through right now. Coming out through the back of the car, even though the engine is around the front. But I think that is it for today. I hope the wind noise has not been too bad and plaguing the video horribly. I wanted to shoot something with the GT C Roadster. So let me know in the comments what you think of it. It does look gorgeous to me right now in this light, in this color, in this configuration. But GT C Roadster or GTR Coupe? That is the question. Slightly less power, but open top driving experience, which is something truly enjoyable. Anyway, a big thanks to Mercedes-AMG for having me out here to drive the new car, and of course to you guys, as always, for watching. Really appreciate it, but that's it for now. I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers!